we're going to go to 4B. Now 4B is a little trickier, so try to follow along with me. What we want in 4B is the number of days that you can claim, number of days in 2012 you can claim to exclude for purposes of substantial presence. So what we want there is, remember, you have to be an exempt individual to be able to exclude days, right? So what goes in 4B, now I'm going to give you an example, so hopefully you can understand it. Let's just say in 2012 you were in the U.S. for 100 days. All right, so we're going to start with 100 days. Okay, of those 100 days, 20 days you were first here as a tourist. The other days that you were in the U.S., you were here as an F1 student. So for our example, what you would enter in 4B would be 80. Because only the 80 days count for the exclusion. Because only those 80 days you were an exempt individual. When you were here as a tourist for 20 days, you can't exclude those days. Because the tourist visa cannot be excluded from that test. So in 4A, you would have entered 100 in 2012. And then in 4B, going back to our example, the only thing you could put in there would be 80. Because 20 of those days you cannot exclude. And the reason you cannot exclude it is because you were not an F1 student during those 20 days. So, is everyone clear on that?
If you were like F1 student all the time?
Okay, if you were an F student the entire 100 days, all 100 can be excluded. They would go on to 4B, and what that means is they don't count toward that clicking clock that I talked about. The 180-day clock, 100 days do not count, as long as you were an F1.
So if I have 182 days of me being present in the U.S., and all of that days I were F1, what's the exclusion for me?
182.
Is there a maximum number of days?
No.
The whole year?
No. Well, the maximum is the number of years you can be an exempt student. But in a given year, there is no maximum other than 365 or 366 each year.
So for most people, I think just to make it easy, it's going to be probably the same number that you put in the 2011,
right.
2012 as you would put in exclusion. Most likely, because most of you are in F1, most of that time, same number.
Right. So as long as you were an F1 the entire year and there was no non-qualifying status, like a tourist visa or some other visa that's not one of these four, then all the days should match. When they don't match is when you are here on more than one status in a given year. Does everyone understand that? If you were in F1 the entire year, nothing else, then 4A for 2012 and 4B should match. They should be the same. Is everyone clear on that? Okay, there's a question in the back.
If you're on F1 and you went home for 1 month, so should you count this 1 month too?
No. Once again, when we apply the test, all we care about how long were you physically present in the U.S. Okay, when you're back in your home country, you're not in the U.S., right? Okay, we don't count it. It's not counted. Only days you were in the U.S. That's how the rule works. Okay, we do not apply the days that you were in your home country because we don't care. And plus, it would be unfair if you think about it. So only the time you were in the U.S. So for a lot of you, 4A and 4B may be the same number, which is okay. That would mean that you were an exempt individual during that whole time. So that's part one. through it, okay? Okay, part 2, typically we skip because most people are not considered teachers or trainees or students. So I'm going to skip it today. And we're going to go to part 3, which is students.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
A lot of us are here on like whatever program and we have practicums. So we are technically like trainees at certain practice places. So
Is that how it works? Are they considered trainees or students?
they're considered students.
Okay, so we still skip that part. So we default to what the school calls it. If the school says that you're students, according to their program, then that's what we're going with. Even though you may understand it a little differently. If the schools know what their programs are, they know how it qualifies within the visas that are issued. Okay, so we default to the school.
And for anybody at the Chicago school, no one is a trainee. They're all students.
Right. So default to the school. Your schools know what your status is. All right? They'll tell you if you're a student or a trainee. And that's what we're going to follow. Okay, so we're going to go to part 3. Now part 3, question 9. Enter the name and address of the school you attended during 2012. So if you went to the Chicago school, you're going to enter Chicago school and the address for the school. You went to Kendall, you're going to enter Kendall. You went to Columbia, it's going to be Columbia. If you went to more than one school during the year, you're going to enter both. Sometimes that happens. Most of the time it doesn't, but if you went to more than one school, you enter both of them. So I'll give you a minute to enter that. Okay, we'll move on to number 10. Enter the name, address, phone number of the director of the academic or specialized program you participated. This usually, in a lot of cases, we tell folks to enter their international advisor's office. So we suggest that for all schools. So for the Chicago school, you would enter the Chicago School International Advisor office and phone number. If you're at Kendall College, same thing. You would enter the information for your international student office. Same thing with Columbia. So whatever school you're from is your international advisor's office. That's the information that goes there. If it's more than one school in a given year, you put both. Yes.
What's the Chicago school phone number?
Phone number for Chicago school?
My phone number is 312-467-2549. If you do not attend the Chicago school, please do not write that phone number down.
That's right.
312-467-2549. That's for the international students office? Yes.
And is there a phone number for the Chicago school itself for part 9?
For the Chicago school in general, I believe it is,
The website has an 800 number.
you can put that there.
Yeah, that's fine.
So the address is 325.
Yeah, Charles is going to write it up here for everyone. You have to write the code too.
Yes.
Right. So 10, just remember you have to write in the name of the school. So it'd be International Student Advisor, the Chicago School, or International Student Advisor, Kendall College. Has to be identified along the address.
And I'm putting this out there for the California students if they're on the phone. It's the number is 213-615-7217.
And if there's any, I don't know if there's any DC students, but just write it in the chat box and I will give it to you.
Okay, we're going to move on to number 11. Okay, number 11, what it's addressing, remember when we first started, the rules are you can be an exempt student for no more than 5 years, or an exempt scholar under a J1 for no more than 2. So what question 11 is addressing is that 2-year and 5-year rule. All right, so that's why you see that it starts with tax year 2006 and ends with 2011 because we're looking at the last 5 years. That would be the last 5 years prior to 2012. All right. So in line 11, whichever year applies to you, you're going to enter your visa type. So if it was an F, then that's what you put in whatever year applies to you. So for instance, if you were here 2009, 10, 11, and you were an F the entire time, then that's what you would put in that little line that's right next to the year. All right? So you would put F for those years.
If we kind of change into the visa status, like D visa, like tourist or working visa, do we write it there, or it's only?
No. No, you would not write it there. And the reason why is because this line is strictly addressing F, J, M, and Q visas. Okay, so it does not go there.
Question.
Yes.
If none of those apply, we just leave it blank.
Correct. Right. Because we're using line 11 to determine whether or not you have exceeded the 2 or 5 year rule. That's why line 11 is there.
And for the document that you can attach, can that just be a Word document that states it, or
Yes.
do you want the approval notice?
Yeah, it can just be a document.
Okay.
So getting back to the question of what if you were a different visa during those years. If there was any change to a visa, you would attach a statement stating what that change was and when it happened. Okay, you wouldn't enter it in 11, but you would attach a statement to this form outlining whatever change it was and when it took effect. Otherwise, line 11 is only dealing with the 4 visas that I mentioned. Okay, no other visa goes here. So is everyone clear on line 11? Okay. So we're going to go to line 12. Line 12 it's a yes or no question. It would ask, were you present in the U.S. as a teacher, trainee, or student for any part of more than 5 calendar years? This is where it's either a yes or a no. You were either here for more than 5 years or you weren't. If it's a no, you check no. If it's a yes, you check yes. And then generally in those cases, you're going to be considered a resident for tax purposes because you now have exceeded the 5-year mark. There are very limited exceptions where that wouldn't apply, but I'm not going to go into detail on that because we don't have enough time. But if that were the case, you would have to attach a statement to this form, and you would have to basically convince IRS why you don't intend to stay in the U.S. So it can be a little complex. Question in the back.
So how are we counting years for this? Like if I came in August of 2009?
Any part of 5 years. So 2009 would be checked.
It'll be 5 years, 2013 right now?
Yeah. It's the way the